Today's video is the first in a series on risk mitigation. Risk mitigation is when you sit down with a cup of coffee and you consciously think ahead 6 months in your project about all the things that could go wrong and give you pain. And you write those down and then you work through different sort of solutions that would either completely reduce the risk or it would at least mitigate the risk and reduce the impact that it could have on your project. Now, for example, it surprises me how on every single job we get surprised that the commissioning program got compressed from 3 months to 3 weeks. We come back from the meeting and we moan to our colleagues and to our boss and to the mechanical contractor about how we need 3 months, now we've got 3 weeks or whatever it is, and we're surprised by it. And it seems to me that the only things that we do to mitigate that risk, it's not really mitigating it, we start to write notice of delay letters. So during the installation phase, we start to realize that we should have been in this plant room and we're not. And in that month, we write a letter to the mechanical contractor advising them that we are running late and that we're not going to reach our program. So we might say we're like a month behind. And then we go through the different phases, and as we get to commissioning, we write more of these notice of delay letters. Every month we write them. We're 1 week behind, we're 2 weeks behind, we're 3 weeks behind. And the reason why we do that is that we are protecting ourselves from financial penalties at the end of the project. Now, of course, that is important. You should do that. But you're not actually mitigating the risk. You're just protecting yourself. Now, about 10 to 15 years ago, I came up with this saying, and it was, every job that we do is like the first job that we ever did. Because we just make the exact same mistakes on every single job, just about. Every year or two, there's new people joining the business. People getting promoted from engineering or design into project management or whatever it is. And they learn by buggering up the first few jobs that they did. We've all been there. I've been doing this for 20 years. I've been making mistakes for 20 years and learning lessons. And the reason why is that we don't actively do things to solve these problems. We just expect that, we just assume that this is part of the industry. Commissioning will be compressed, we will learn late. But the thing is that at the start of commissioning, at that time, it is too late to then start thinking about how can you fix this problem. It's too late. You don't have another 10 commissioning technicians hanging around. So with risk mitigation, for commissioning, for example, you've got to start doing something in the design phase and the engineering phase and the installation phase, actually probably even in the sales phase, which we'll talk about next week. But everything that you need to do in these jobs, you need to work through them at the start and be thinking, that's going to happen. How can I mitigate that risk through smarter design, through changing how I do installation and changing how I engineer these jobs? And we'll sort of go through a bit more of this over the next few weeks. Now, because we're going to be talking about this for the next few weeks, I would like you guys, please, to write down one thing that gives you pain in your projects or the role that you do. And over the weeks, when we're talking about mitigating design risk or installation or commissioning or witnessing type stuff, I want you guys to think about how can you fix your problem. Because the thing is that in most cases, just writing something down and thinking about it, you'll save half the problems anyway. It's just we don't do that. We just design these jobs exactly like we did them for 20 years. The process we follow, it's exactly the same. The industry is changing, but we're not changing how we deliver jobs. So just you thinking about this is going to make a difference and improvement. I can guarantee you it sort of. So I challenge you guys to think of one thing and write it in the YouTube comments or in the LinkedIn comments. Because if you write that down for the whole world to see on social media, you are highly likely to actually follow through and think about it and work through it. Because now you are accountable to something. And it's not just for project managers or designers. If you're a software programmer, let's say, for example, I'm a software programmer. One of the issues that I might have is that the design engineer is always late on the design. the functional description takes forever to get approved. So I always end up doing my software programming late. So every single job A, job B, job C, job D, every job I start my engineering phase writing field controller software, building database, graphics, binding, the whole thing. I always am crunched starting it late. So as a result, my programming, it's not that great. It could be better. I just don't have time to do it better. So that's a problem that I always have. So write that down. So, I am being held up by the design engineer. Write that in the comments. So over the next few weeks, you'll think about, going to talk to the guy. This is what I need on these dates. What's holding you up to deliver that on time? How can we change that? What can we do to try and improve on that? And if you can't change that, then think about, okay, so it's going to be compressed. Can I get a resource to help me? Like 2 months before, go talk to your manager. Can I get a resource to help me? Can we send some of the legwork off to offshore engineering, whatever it is? Start planning to reduce this problem. It's going to happen. Sort it out. So write it down, and then you're accountable. You probably will do it. I have a board on the wall here where I write things for my business and things that are important to me. If I see something or I hear something that's interesting, I write on my board. Actually, I'll show you an example. I was watching this podcast a few months ago, and they said this thing, right? And what they said was, focus on what is important and not what is urgent. And I really loved that. And I thought about it. And, so much of what we do is driven by urgent things, right? And urgent things normally come from a situation where somebody else hasn't done their job properly. So in my role, for example, a consultancy will want to sub-consult to me, and they'll say, Bryce, please can you review this technical submission? Like it's an 8-hour technical submission to review. And it's urgent because it's been sitting in their inbox for 2 weeks, and now it's overdue. And now I have an urgent thing to resolve. So I drop things. So say, for example, I was going to record this video on Thursday, and I blocked the whole day out. Now all of a sudden, I have an urgent task to do. So I end up doing the technical submission review. I'm recording it on the weekend again. I'm trying not to record these things on weekends, but there's so many urgent things happening. And this little thing on here on my board reminds me to focus on what is important and not what is urgent. Now, you don't just drop urgent things, but especially in our industry, I see people, project managers and design engineers, and they're focusing on urgent things which are important to other stakeholders. So you end up doing things to help the mechanical contractor achieve their targets and mitigate their risk. And you're helping the builder achieve their targets and mitigate their risk. You're flat out running around working on urgent things, but you're not working on important things. Things that are important to you getting your job done properly. So yeah, I really love this. So I write on my board, I see it, it reminds me to focus on important things. So please guys, think of one thing that you're going to mitigate in your job over the next few weeks and write it down and have some ownership and accountability, and I challenge you to write it in the comments below. So guys, if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe as usual, and leave a comment if you feel comfortable. Actually, this week you're going to write something in there. If you don't feel comfortable writing a whole thing, just say design, installation. Well, I'll tell you one you could do. So you could write there, I want to better understand the consultant's requirements to sign off practical completion. Because let me tell you what I do. When I go do witnessing, there's 3 things I do first, and I do them really quickly, like in 1 hour. So I walk through the plant room and I do a quick quality inspection, mostly because I can't actually remember this job. I did this specification a year ago, I've forgotten all about it. So I walk through there and I check the installation quality. I go and open up a control panel, I look inside there, how neat is it? Are the trunking lids off? Is there wires everywhere? I have a look at it, take a photo, then I walk back to the BMS room and I go through the point-to-point commissioning sheets. I grab the folder, I just flip through all the plant rooms, the control panels. I'm just flipping through as fast as like pile of sheets like that for a big job. I'm looking for a tick, initial, and a signature, or a date. And they don't have to all be done, because life is a hard job. But as long as they're all there, they're following the process, they're documenting it properly, they're doing the commissioning, I do that. And the third thing I do is I flip through every single graphic as quickly as I can, like 4 seconds each graphic. I don't look at, are we in an economy cycle, is the temperature right? I don't do that. I just go through all the graphics, chillers, boilers, cooling towers, AHUs, all the floors, all the interfaces, lifts, fire, hydraulics, security, the whole thing. I do it as fast as I can, because it gives me a sanity check about where they're at. If I'm finding lots of offline graphics and things that aren't there, they don't have a page for the fire interface, it's not there, I write it down. So in that 1 hour, I get a very quick snapshot of their installation quality, their commissioning process, and where they are on the server, on the head end, all the graphics. Check a few alarms, check a few trends. And at that point, I will already have made up in my mind if they are going to pass practical completion or not. Like, I haven't even gone through all the control strategies like the previous videos. The CO2 control strategy, the CO control strategy. I haven't even got there. That's like 2 days worth of work. But I've already decided if they're going to pass or fail on that. So everybody, if you are doing witnessing, you should have a coffee with the consultant. Build up some rapport with the guy. Introduce yourself. He's more likely to help you out if there's a bit of a personal connection. Ask him or her, what are the important things that you look for to write a practical completion letter? Because the job doesn't need to be perfect to get a practical completion letter. And now you know that. All right, well, these things aren't that important. They won't hold up sign-off. I'll put them, a bit further down the priority list. So you could, if you're a project manager, you should be writing in their comments, better understand the consultant's requirements and what the consultant's pain points are. It annoys me to no end when I get to start to do witnessing and the BMS guy rolls in 2 minutes after me. They're not prepared. They haven't gone around and got all the plant running, got all the hand-off water switches into auto and all the variable speed drives into auto, because they're all the manual from air and water balancing the day before. Completely unorganized. And I just sit there and think, well, if you guys are not showing me any respect, at least to be prepared for this, I just don't feel good about this. These are all risks that need to be managed. So guys, if you enjoy this video, please like and subscribe. As I always say, it's slowly building up. And if you feel comfortable, leave a comment. And actually this week you have to leave a comment. If you don't feel comfortable in YouTube or in an account, go to LinkedIn, just right there. Yep, I'm going to do it. Or just write down, something in there. But have some ownership. And I will catch you guys next week. And I think next week we are going to be talking about reducing risk in the sales phase. A really good one. And if you're not a salesperson, watch it anyway, because lots of things in that video flow into design mitigation.